All right. I'm gonna go look at another chapter. This is called a what I call ad lib ad hominem, just not ad hominem, but just ad lib. Chapter 3, or I say Chapter 1, Part 3 podcast. And since I don't have time to take notes, I'm going to do a voice recorder of this. So, I want to go over 4 categories of operation, right? Keep in mind, this is completely unedited. I am not reading from a script. I'm doing like completely off the cuff, right? Plan, source, make, and deliver. So, I'm going to be looking over this commercial supply chain operations because we used to live back. I'm going to go look over Amazon again. I know people get angry, but honestly, it's either Amazon or the Seahawks that have any real relevance in terms of supply chain. I don't understand. I know back in the agricultural revolution, we all started off. What's the right term? We all started off doing agricultural stuff, farming, right? Farming was the basis of every supply chain model. It's not tech. Like ever since I was a little kid, I've always been puzzled at why we all suddenly shifted towards the internet bubble. Because supply chain, even to this day, is still heavily focused on retail, right? A functioning economy supply chain should be updating to tech. The most common example should be tech. It shouldn't be retail, food, transportation, right? And minerals, right? It's like supply chain has never, like, we have tech, but tech is mainly agrarian focused. Right? Even if we invented tech, how come it hasn't had an agrarian focus, right? So let's go look at, expect some pauses because I'm going to be doing, doing a study method. So plan, source, make, deliver. I'm going to be looking over some of these supply chain operations. I think one of the biggest prob fibs I have is with demand forecasting for a company. And one of the problems I have with demand forecasting is that a lot of the company models, because the supply chain models have not been updated, do not have accurate models for predicting sales for products without a non-food focus. So that's why I focus on Amazon. Let's see. Amazon should focus on a new collaboration, right? I'm honestly serious about so do they have anything called Amazon Shoes? I think Amazon should focus their supply chain operation on shoes someday, right? Yeah, I really am hoping. Yeah, like this is the problem. We're not focusing on shoes. Amazon shoes ain't anywhere. I don't know why they're because agrarians like cavemen needed shoes, right, to farm food, right? If you ever seen they should model their operations after like illegal immigrants. I'm not bullshitting. I don't think so anyways. Otherwise, I'll re-look at the redraft and I'll re-listen to the podcast, right? Right. They're working in the farm, right? They don't have good shoes, right? And the cheapest labor you can find is going to be illegal immigration. That's illegal immigration. That's what it was sort of back then. We had no borders, and that was because it's always been cheaper to get labor elsewhere. We all understand that, right? And the only way we actually drove illegal immigrants back was by getting the main citizens to live like them, so their prices were able to compete against them, right? Right, that's why they did agrarian revolution. They did a lot of I think it's called like vegetable rotation. I have to look this up, and it's a metaphor for the fact that people rotated human labor every 5 years. So we used to have, oh my god. All right, so let's go. I will be taking. I need to look at. I swear to God, I need to go look for a shorthand writing system because it takes too long to write this stuff. But anyways, I'm going to be looking over 4 categories of supply chain. So the demand forecast needs to be accurate. All the models, because supply chain hasn't updated, all the forecast models are really based on food. See, and this is a product of a society that likes to consume stuff without thinking about it too much. I'm a product of someone who's okay, I thought about how to use this tech now. To the point where even if you don't appeal, even in the worst case scenario, even if you don't get every customer, you could still sustainably become a trillionaire in the long run. Yeah, you don't need, like, I'm telling you right now, you don't need, if you're flexible what a trillionaire is, right? Like if you, let's say, so there's a flexible way to be a trillionaire. The flexible way is, here are the resources that I think I can acquire with $1 trillion. And let me just get those things for me and I'll be happy. It's like a wish list, right? You don't really need to. If you're willing to settle. You can always sell it for cash if you need it. Yeah, I don't like talking about this because it's a depressing reality. Because you cannot get people to buy stuff these days. They're all hesitating on purchases all the time. It's like watching the Weimar Republic, right? You're trying to engage in a capitalist marketplace. It is like the Weimar Republic. That's the joke. U.S. operates a lot like that because I haven't seen anyone really purchase on Flipkart. Who's in Foot Locker lately, right? There's people, don't get me wrong, but like enough to purchase. But compared to the number of units they input, right? The number of units they input, right? So product inventory management, right? So it's the amount of inventory you have when you're planning your supply chain operation. Is it more than way more than the number of customers? That's like selling at a loss. It's like you might as well not even continue business, right? I'm serious. This is one of the problems. This is why I want to go to the school system, because I don't like asking questions. Because then once you narrow it down the threads, it's just all bullshit. Every legalistic paperwork is used to justify the salary caps that exist already, right? It's not there to justify whether you actually need someone to do it, right? I thought we all understood that. Hopefully you all understand that. Yeah, so the product pricing is based on is outdated model, right? So here's the logic in the agrarian revolution. The logic is the more input you apply, right, the more food you produce. That doesn't work the same as tech. Think about it. That's why it's always worth more. Think about it. Like the price of the phone, new iPhone model, right? $800, right? Let's say you put that amount of time making food. How many more units of food could you make compared to a unit of an iPhone? It's food-based, right? Our entire pricing model, because we're caveman-based, because we came from cavemen. Yeah, it's like 800. It's not. No, it's not. If we went through a sales model, right, and we really worked through this, it would not. It doesn't cost that much. No, it doesn't. So how would you please the salespeople? Produce more inventions. That's what you do. Right? You want to justify the same problem? Just make more inventions. Don't work on game patches. Don't focus on like this new tech out there, right? Oh, I got to make the newest model of the iPhone. If it takes too long, just go look at another industry. Don't right? Go use your capital you got from the first iPhone model and start inventing new inventions elsewhere. Right? Just don't make your own apps. You know, don't keep focusing. So if your substitute for like the iPhone 2 is like 50 apps, go for it. Make 50 or 80 more apps. It's not that hard, right? You got a college degree and whatever. I can't pay attention. Like I said, I barely got through school. Yeah, what would you do? Look, we need this is why we haven't had good inventory management, and so the product pricing would change, of course, right, within the planned phase of the supply chain operation. So how you would procure funds and collect credit would be completely different. How would you collect credit? You don't have to. That's the joke. So if you're Apple, right, you start out as Apple, and because Steve Jobs came from a wealthy dynastic family, they could have basically just had 50 apps, wait a while, sit there, and the cash would come. Because the U.S. government would come in the form of donations, right? Got the family vouching for it. You wouldn't need new iPhone. You'd wait, right? Take enough poll surveys, like, okay, iPhone 2 would be a lot better than iPhone 13 by now. That's how you know, because you're gathering accurate sales data. Because I've noticed like a lot of the new iPhones are just like sort of like slightly upgraded cameras, slightly upgraded better apps. Not really too much of it. I could be wrong. They're playing the shorting price game. And of course there's other problems, like there's no need to fib the spreadsheets, right? Of the financials. There's no honest, because there's no need to have a dishonest Q1 and Q4 quarterly earnings report. Yeah, and the product designs would be different. Production scheduling, facility management, like the facilities would be different. We wouldn't have a lot of machinery focused on, we wouldn't have it focused on too much on like let's say it's like zinc and alloy, right? We wouldn't have too much zinc and alloy base models. Right? We would have a different score model, right? SCOR, right? Score, supply chain operations, right? Whatever that, what else you call it, right? The score model, and that's kind of what we would do. And the delivery method and the make method would all be different. Yes, you would, and the environment competitive, no need. The moment you're the first company and you're from like a wealthy family, and this is how the market gets tapped, because people hesitate on purchasing too much, right? The problem with capitalism is people hesitate too much. You guess who wins? The guy who's willing to throw money at the screen wins first, the most. And most people will select the royal family. That's how capitalism works. That's why there's always an inherent monopoly in capitalism. If everyone wants to say, "Powerful, it's time," there really is no free market, right? No, like arguably. There's a psychological monopoly. Because they look at the rich, don't they? Oh, he looks so flamboyant, right? Or Kanye looks hella sexy. I don't know, right? Rockefeller looks amazing, powerful, tall, right? Because he got lucky at some point, right? They look at that as a piece of marketing. So everyone invests in that person, regardless of the quality of the product. They'll always buy there. And then what ends up happening is a lot of the prodigies end up working for them first, because they realize, that's less work. I get to play with cooler resources. Why would I ever compete? Because it's impossible, because you guys all the consumers hesitate too much, right? So all the resources will be in their control. And why fight back? Now you get independent like 10 or 20 years, but how do you think Twitter got like a genius to make Twitter, right? How do you think Facebook got that one guy, I don't even know their names, to make Facebook, right? Because it's impossible to get resources from a nobody, no matter how smart you are. They always throw money at the wealthy, flamboyant guy that throws money. And then the trick is, once you throw money out first, you can either withdraw or keep putting in, and then the government gives you cash back. That's why the spend money, make money rule is true. That basically says there's always a monopoly whenever the free market comes out. And the monopoly in the beginning was the Holy Spirit, right? There never really was. There really was never a non-monopoly marketplace, if you consider the Holy Spirit a monopoly, right? God. Yeah, and a lot of the Republicans are just dreaming if there was never no monopoly, right? There always was a monopoly if you believe in God, right? God is a monopoly. He's a monopoly on reality. So yeah, and those who speak with him, the royal families that made the Vatican City, they made the Starseeds, who made whoever's in Silicon Valley, right? They all descended from the same tree. Yeah, they're the ones that have a monopoly on the marketplace. Yeah, there never was, right? People just throw money there. They do not throw money at the guy that actually makes a quality product. And his goal, he realizes as much as he tries, no one will buy their stuff, right? He goes like, well, I didn't hear any good word of mouth, or he doesn't look flammable, or no one's throwing money at us first, right, to move. So they can help that guy move. So what the rule is, the royal guy is supposed to go and throw money at the guy that actually has good ideas. The joke is everyone knows them. That's why Tesla opted out. There's no way he would have been able to make his own business, right? Because none of the people that he needed to help execute his ideas would ever came to him. Right? It's a frigged game. right? Because the one with the most money maintains the most order in the universe within that sector, right? Just money creates order out of chaos. At least with the currency system we have right now. All that matters is you believe it. That's all that matters. Right? And you could call that a product characteristic, right? It's a human characteristic of society. They always invest in the guy who throws money at them first so they can move and help. Once they get them to move, they give money back, right? Later down the line. You'll take the loss for like 5 years. I thought about this for a while. It's like Amazon business model, but but in a more I would say less generous extent. Yeah, there's nothing was there anything rational about that? No. So let's look at the time series models, right? In any causal in the qualitative measurements, they're all food based, right? Based on the agrarian revolution, at least how they do come up with it, the methodology, and that makes sense. I love to clarify anything next. Right, the time series models, they're all based on food. Because think about it, all the time on from trying to make sure the supply chain operations come from the agrarian revolution, right? You see the examples; they're all retail based. That's not a good thing. We need to update. So how do we update that? And this is related to a lot of the supply chain operations charts we have, right? Yeah. So, and how do we get past it? Well, here's how you get past that. You start a couple clubs yourself. You teach different start. You have a legitimate debate. Now, right now, under the current paradigm, right, it's more profitable for the rich to do it, but not for the college profs to switch over, right? Right, because they're paid tenure and everything. I'm just giving you an objective evaluation of reality, right? You can only get if the upper rich want to make more money, challenge the school board. That's their thing, right? And as long as people keep giving power to the rich, it's like, well, I only go to school to get a job instead of learn. The rich always have a massive edge. Yeah, it's like, well, I don't like gen eds. Bye. I don't need tenure, right? Because I'm going to go short your salaries, right? Less courses means I pay less, right? It's logical. Let's do a bidding process for these courses, right? You don't want like the entire school model to go this way. You don't need the government for this. It's just a scummy thing to do. Because the government moves where the rich go. Right? And see, look at that. Store managers are the ones who came up with the time model forecast, right? Even Walmart's talking about this, right? The store manager will significantly increase the accuracy of their forecast. They influence it indirectly. The good managers know how to create their own forecast models out of thin air. And they present it to the supply chain data analyst guy and say, hey, that's your idea, not mine. That's the trick. They've always known how to talk to them. The good ones. Then they quit, of course, because they're not paid enough. In reality 101, if I'm not paid what I'm worth, I'm tofu. So qualitative, anyways, let's go look at this. So production capacity match demand. I'll talk about this later. I gotta go cut this off. But basically, always know that just always know production the match demand is always based on a I would say it's an exponential curve, right? It's a linear to exponential curve. But all those curves are all based on because we're using models that are trying to model food growth. We're using those models to model food growth to somehow model the tech growth, right? Right, just please. Anyone comments on here, I will be happy to explain all this. So the food, so you cannot rely on something that forecasts food, right? Because forecast models are depending on the product, I think, right? It should be. You can't assume what models food growth should be applicable to everything else. That's why the tech prices are up, because they're using outdated forecast models. And if you lie about financials, that only makes it worse, right? Because you add those variables to the forecast model, making it very inaccurate. And everyone has a vested interest in maintaining the outdated model because you make more money that way. Yeah, you got to go ask people if they want to maintain their 50 grand. So ask. If you're rich, you're a business owner, doesn't matter if small or big. Ask, is that accurate? Is that from the agrarian revolution? Just go ask where these models are based off. Is it manufacturing? Like, you really do need to ask this, because I want some new models. Yeah, I don't pay immediately. Give some samples. Let's talk about DigiPen. Maybe DigiPen has a data analyst course. Let's start boot camp. Let's not expand quite yet. Right? This is the realistic version of college. If you're going to give all the power to the employer, the employer's like, we can wait doing 8,000 standardizations later. Why don't you help work for my company first? No, you can't. He's like, I don't know. These tests too expensive. What's the price tag, right? That's realistic question time, right? Decision-making time. They don't ask that. But the moment you start asking that, people grill each other. I can deal with less tests. How about some free work, free labor? What do you think about this? See, that was back then. That's why people wanted to move out of that system. People threw stones because the profs wanted tenure, right? You can't justify tenure. That system, by the way. And then what this does is it forced the profs to work for the corporation to make sure they get accurate data for free. This is why we got rid of this. Yeah, this is why, because they needed to make sure they got their paycheck for their other job. Trust me, don't. This is why I'm like, this is, and I thought about it, I was like, there's no way people want to return to this. So the students, what they have to do is they have to stop putting power to the employer, right? These employers will just burp at you, right, when it comes to schoolwork. They'll definitely give you all the coursework later on once you work for a while. Yeah, just we can be flexible. If I pay you half of what you're worth, can I just give you a flexible PTO schedule? You can just go study that, right? Or UPT, I don't know. Anyways, I'll cut this off.